Wow, what a beautiful spot. We've been camping down below in that valley. We're leaving though all those nice black spruce and other trees and heading up above that snow patch to a place where there are no trees. A little walk ahead, so let's get going. What a spectacular view. Here we are atop the Long Range Mountains in Grossmoor National Park, Newfoundland. While the beauty here is undeniable, there's a lot more than just spectacular vistas. Today on Wild by Nature, we're going to meet some hardy alpine plants, search for near invisible grouse, and enjoy a hair-raising experience. Join me, Michael Runtz, as we explore the amazing life found in high places. Right down here is a lovely little violet that we don't see much farther south. This is alpine marsh violet, and it's growing here by this little stream, which is formed by a melting ice patch right over here. Well, here we are atop the Long Range Mountains. Spectacular, isn't it? This level area is called the Big Level. No trees up here apart from the odd small patch in a sheltered site. The rain has stopped, the sun is out. I'm going to shed this raincoat. When you're traveling up here, you got to bring all kinds of wear. It can be hot, it can be cool, it can be wet. But now the sun is shining. Let's go see what we can find here. These windswept open expanses of Big Level make it very hard for plants to grow here, especially trees. In fact, most trees don't do very well. Right behind me, these balsam fir aren't doing very well. They're doing a little bit better though across the pond on the leeward side of those slopes. Smaller plants too have a lot of trouble. Often they grow in sheltered sites. Here by these great rocks, we've got a number of plants growing out of the wind. We've got crowberry with its nice dark berries. We have bilberry right here. And in the lower spot, even Labrador tea and some bunchberry has become established. So up here in these windswept barrens, a number of plants get established in shelter sites like behind this big rock right here. Many of the berry-producing alpine plants are very small as an adaptation to survive the winds up here. But being small does not mean that they're not important. The berries on the crowberry and this plant right here, mountain cranberry, are very important foods for at least one animal up here. In fact, the common name for this plant is partridge berry because ptarmigan are commonly called partridge. Right beside me is evidence that ptarmigan have been here. So somewhere on this windswept peak, there are ptarmigan waiting for us. Let's go look for them. Right over here is a family of rock ptarmigan, a bird I have never seen until this trip to Gross Mourne. Now it's a female and several young. I see at least 6 young out here walking around looking for food while Mom keeps guard. One young is quite close by here. It appears to be picking up seeds of sedges, but it's also picking up things from the ground. Quite often they feed on the berries of some of the alpine plants like crowberry and mountain cranberry. So right over here, she's picking up all sorts of bits of food. Now, they're called rock ptarmigan because this is their habitat. High, barren mountain tops where there's lots of rocks and lichens and small plants. So here's the perfect habitat for the rock ptarmigan. That's the female against the big rock. From here you can see that beautiful camouflage pattern on the female. The dark and light gray and black and white areas match the lichen patterns on the rocks almost perfectly. When she's on her nest on the ground, she becomes invisible. While those ptarmigan are really gray and dark right now, they will change to pure white by winter. But right now they're dressed for summer and they're very well camouflaged from this beautiful rocky licheny habitat. The young are feeding all around her. But see how she's standing up right now? Keeping a close eye on us. Now these grouse have feet that are exposed to the really cold conditions up here, but they have feathers down there. In fact, the feathers not only insulate their toes and their feet as they walk around, but they also behave like snowshoes. So in winter here, when there's plenty of snow around, they're able to walk around on natural snowshoes. What an amazing treat, seeing the most northern grouse in the entire world right here. And what a spectacular setting. There's some sign here of a really big animal. We've got the shed hair and the droppings of woodland caribou. After this break, we'll go to a spot that caribou find really cool to hang out at. Look at that. There's a woodland caribou on top of that ridge coming down. Now there are a lot of caribou all through this part of Newfoundland. Look at that. Isn't that tremendous? Wow. It appears to be marring the view too. What a sight. We'll go to a spot in a little while where we may even see some down on some of the ice that's remaining here. Oh-ho! The berries on these alpine slopes aren't only food for the ptarmigan. Right down here is a pile of bear droppings, just full of berries. I see the red berries of mountain cranberry and the dark purple berries of crowberry. So up here on these slopes, not only ptarmigan gain meals from these plants, but big animals like black bears too. There are 3 caribou out on the remaining piece of snow out here. Apparently at times there can be as many as 30 or 40, even 100 caribou. Now it's believed that the caribou have come down to these patches to escape biting flies. But there's a lot of wind up here in the higher slopes. So if that was the reason for it, it seems kind of strange they wouldn't just go to the higher peaks and stand in the wind and lose the flies that way. And maybe they're staying cool, because caribou are animals of high alpine country. They're used to the cold temperatures. So it's quite possible that these caribou, instead of going to a local beach, are going down to their local ice patch to stay cool on these warm days in summer. Now I packed my camera gear here, not for the exercise, but to get some photographs. I'm going a little bit closer now to try to get a shot of these caribou before they leave the ice. What a great trail. This was created by caribou coming down from the higher country here to the valley to get on that snow patch. Caribou, like other members of the deer family, sport antlers on their head. I found this one a bit earlier on. The one thing that's different though is that in the caribou, both the females and the males sport antlers. In the females though, they remain rather small, about this size, while the much larger ones are born by the stags or males. This one here is probably that of a female. But whether it's male or female, each year the antlers are cast off and new ones are grown back in. All animals have predators, and caribou are no exception. This young calf, about 2 months old, the throat on it has been bitten right through. Now, its killer is a mystery, but it may be a black bear. Now, on this island, the only predators that caribou really have are black bear and the odd lynx and even the odd coyote today. At one time here in Newfoundland, there were timber wolves, but they're gone now. Here's a tremendous opportunity for us to see the neat feet that caribou have. These great toenails that spread, allowing the animal to walk on very soft ground, mossy, wet, boggy ground, or even in snow. The hooves are also important for digging out food under the snow during the winter. These thick tangles of spruce and fir known as tuckamore are ideal hiding spots for the Arctic hare. After this break, we'll meet a man who has spent day and night up here tracking down that elusive animal. This is Sean Giroux, a wildlife biologist with the University of New Brunswick. Sean's doing a PhD up here in Gros Morne on the Arctic hare. Sean, how many years now have you been up here searching for this elusive hare?
This will be the third summer here this year. We've radio collared a total of 23 hare in and around this area here, and total that I've seen since I started this study is probably a little over 50 hare in total, I'd say. Now,
as you go farther north, I think they're more common, aren't they? Because I've seen lots of television programs where you see hordes of Arctic hare bouncing around.
Certainly, they tend to be more gregarious up north. You find them anywhere from 100 to maybe even 1,000 animals. Where here, we're lucky we'll find 5 together. That would be a lot.
Yeah.
Usually only a couple.
So in other words, they have a very low density of animals then?
Yes, less than a hare per square kilometer. The Arctic hare in Newfoundland have the lowest potential of any subspecies, I think, in Canada. Here in Newfoundland, they have an average of about 3 young per litter.
Only 3 per litter?
And up north, they average about 5.5.
With the lower population density here and the lower rate of reproduction, that I guess brings forward the question, is what's the status of the Arctic hare in Newfoundland?
Part of the reason why the study is occurring is because we're interested in finding out how many hare we actually have here and whether or not there is a concern. So until we know the numbers, we really can't say too much.
Now I understand you do a lot of your research at night because they're largely nocturnal.
Yes.
How do you get around in frame like this in the dark, Sean?
Well, we use a headlamp. And that's just about it.
I've heard rumors that you've lost 3 or 4 assistants to broken legs. Is that true or just rumors?
No, that's just rumors.
Yeah, it's rumors.
Had a few knee injuries, but nothing too serious.
Now, you have a number of hares radio collared right around here, don't you? Well, what if we go off and try to find some of them? That sounds close.
Just underneath that tuck there.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it goes! There it goes! Up over there! Look at that! Man, it's fast! What sort of plants here is it feeding on?
Well, he'd probably be feeding on these sedges here, for example.
Any sign of droppings around here we have looked at?
Well, some here, actually.
Well, here we are.
Small ones.
Hares, I assume, like snowshoe hares, or eat their droppings once?
Yes, because they eat a lot of plants that are poor in nutrient.
Yeah, so they can't afford to waste anything. Yeah. Oh, look at that.
You see where he was laying?
What a depression.
Yeah. This hare has been using this quite often by the look of it because he's got a good sort of bed made there.
Gee.
You can also see a lot of hair.
Yeah.
Some of that looks like winter hair, so he may have been here earlier in the spring and he just decided to use this place again. It's probably one of his favorite spots.
Do you know, we flushed them out, will you come back, Sean?
Oh yeah, they'll often use the nest over and over again. And even if we flush them a few days later, it's not uncommon even the next day to come back and see them in the same nest.
So maybe hare today and gone tomorrow, but back the next day sort of thing?
Sort of thing, yes.
Okay.
There's an Arctic hare right over here feeding. It's late evening and it's just come out to feed.
Now notice here how gray the animal is. That's the exact color of many of the rocks around here. So if it is by a rock, it blends in perfectly. Now that color will change by late fall. These hares become pure white, except for black tips to their ears. That's partly for camouflage, but also the white hairs are warmer. White hairs lack pigmentation, which means there's hollow spaces all through them where the pigment normally is held. It's like air trapped between window panes. It provides insulation. So the white of these hairs in winter is partly for camouflage, but also partly for warmth as well. What a beautiful animal.
Wow, that's some wind. And this wind is the reason you find very few trees in high places. Now there are some trees here quite obviously, and they are here for two reasons. One is this spruce and these balsam fir are growing in a more sheltered site. We're on the leeward side of a larger hill, and that gives them some shelter from the wind. But secondly, and probably more importantly, they've attained a very small size. These little balsam firs are miniatures compared to trees down below by more sheltered sites by the water's edge. The spruce here is a giant for spruce at this elevation. So small size and growing in sheltered sites has allowed these trees to grow here. Now if you look carefully, you'll see that all these small balsam fir have a dead spike on top. This indicates where the snowpack ends in winter. The snow covers the lower part of the trees, offering shelter from the wind. The top part was exposed to the wind and to freezing and thawing. The wind carries particles of ice and snow, killing off the foliage, resulting in these dead spikes on top. Now, while these trees have been able to survive by growing in the sheltered site, there is one tree right up here that grows even farther up the slopes. This is a full-grown tree right down here. This is dwarf birch. Now it looks tiny, and that allows it to grow on these exposed sites, but it's not young. This tree probably is at least 25, 30 years old, perhaps even 50 years of age. So small size and sheltered sites are two ways that trees can grow this high up on alpine slopes. The alpine slopes of the Long Range Mountains may seem to be a barren habitat, but they are anything but that. Thanks for coming along on our visit to the amazing plants and animals that call this rugged and beautiful landscape home. Join me next time for another adventure where everything we meet is wild by nature.